Do you want to start learning ballet but you don't really know where to begin? Maybe you've looked online and there are so many resources but simply too many for you to be able to filter through without any prior knowledge. Or maybe you've already been to a group class but it was simply too fast-paced and you kind of left that class feeling a little bit discouraged. I completely understand how you feel. However, I'm here to tell you that most people start ballet in the wrong way. What do I mean by that? They want to skip the fundamentals and get to the fun stuff, such as the point work, the jumps, the pirouettes, the dancing, and I understand all of that. However, you really should not underestimate the importance of a solid classical ballet foundation before you get to any of the fun stuff. So today, I'm going to walk you through ways that you can begin your ballet journey, being mindful of your body, that you won't hurt yourself, that you won't get injured, that you won't feel discouraged, that you see actual progress and you enjoy the process, which is the main thing. Hi, my name is Christina. I was a professional ballet dancer with the Estonian National Ballet for 12 years, and now I help dancers of all levels unlock their strength, artistry, and confidence. First, let's get one thing out of the way. Ballet is not a sprint, it's a marathon. I've said it many times and I'll say it many more times. Think of ballet as a beautiful, elegant building. If you start the building process, you're not going to start from the roof, are you? No, you're going to start from the foundation. And it's the same in ballet. There's a reason as to why professional dancers have trained 7 to 8 years to then get a spot at a professional company, continue their training in the professional company until the very, very last day of their career. So what does starting small actually look like? So the first thing, before we get to anything else, is understanding the correct posture. And what we mean in ballet when we say, I want you to keep a neutral spine. So you need to develop the understanding that the neutral spine is also directly connected to a neutral pelvic alignment. So we don't want to have an excessive tilt of the pelvis going backwards, and we also don't want to overcorrect that by pushing our hips too far forward. Shoulders. What happens really often with beginners is that they hyper focus on the fact that, obviously you need to have your shoulders down and you need to have these proud positions, and they start almost taking their shoulder blades together at the back like this. But what does this lead to? As you can see from here, it leads to the ribs being flared yet again. What I always tell all of my students is that try to think that there are like weights or sandbags or something on your shoulders, and instead of taking them together like this to the back, you're just going to think about them being pushed down into the floor. And then when you get that feeling of them going into the floor, you also feel how your upper back is engaging. And that is really important in ballet afterwards when we get to all the arm movements. And then you also want to have a nice and neutral head. So you don't want to have positions like these or positions like these. You just want, again, everything to be in that one line. So the posture is the very, very first thing that you need to work on. And I would definitely recommend you working on it with a mirror. If you don't have a mirror, then record yourself to make sure that you're actually doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. Because it happens really, really often, even to professionals, that we think that we feel something and we think that it's correct, but then if we actually see it from the mirror or we see it from the video, we realize that in fact it wasn't. So the mirror and a camera are super, super, super helpful tools. After you've established the correct posture, the next thing you need to do before moving to any feet positions, because you probably know they're going to be in turnout, you need to understand what is turnout, how do I hold my turnout, and how do I find my natural turnout, which is something that a lot of people seem to forget, and they just want to push immediately into that flat turnout, which they see from professional dancers on social media or online. So, how you can find your natural turnout: you're going to stand with your feet together. you're going to go up to your heels, lift your toes up, and try to rotate your feet out in one movement. One movement, not 1, 2, but at the same time. Whatever, and then put your toes down. Whatever position you get into, that is your natural turnout. And that is what you should be working with to begin with, despite the things that you see from other people. Don't forget, they're professionals. They've done this for a really long time. So, once you've established your natural turnout, we now need to understand, but where does this turnout come from? How do I hold it? On the contrary to still a very popular and widespread opinion, the turnout does not mainly come from the knees and the feet, even though they are involved in turnout, but the majority of it comes from your hips. So when you're doing that position with your feet parallel and you're trying to rotate your feet out in one movement, I would also advise you to put your hand on your hip, and when you start rotating, you're going to actually feel that rotation beginning from the hip, and then all the rest of your leg goes after. The knees and the feet do play some part in turnout. For example, if you're just sat on the couch and you're not going to move your hip at all, and you're going to have your foot completely in parallel, and then you try to turn your foot out, you're going to see that you can do a little bit. You can do a little bit, but then there's a block and you can't do any more. So that just shows you that the knee and the foot is responsible, but the majority comes from the hip, because you'll be able to turn out way more if you're standing up. Now, once you've established that natural turnout, what do I need to be feeling? What do I need to hold? So in general, in ballet, as soon as you do that turn out feeling, your whole leg, instead of this parallel position, it goes like this. So everything from your inner thigh, from your calf, and from your heel is going to all of a sudden rotate forwards. Now, if you're standing there and you've managed to rotate everything to the front, you're probably going to feel a few things. You're going to feel your inner thighs working, and you're going to feel your glutes working. So those two things are very, very important when it comes to your turnout and sustaining the turnout. After all of that, you should move on to feet positions. There are 6 of them in ballet, and you can find all the information about them online. I would advise you not just to read a description of the position, obviously, but if possible, watch a video. If you just type on YouTube 6 positions with your feet in ballet, you're going to actually visually see all of them, and that's way more beneficial. So when it comes to those 6 positions, actually, correction, one of them is turned in. When it comes to the 5 positions, they're all going to be in the same turnout that we already established with you guys in your natural turnout. Yeah, they will vary, so how you've placed your feet will change, but the feeling of the turnout and that you should be in your natural turnout, that is going to stay. So learn those feet positions before you think about any ballet class. Otherwise, you'll be super confused. After you've learned the feet positions, you've tried them all out, then you should move to arm positions. You also need to understand the correct way to move from one position to another, because there's also going to be many different ways that you can do that, but the foundation in terms of that is just knowing where is position X, Y, Z, S, and then you're also going to be able to watch videos to see how you can move from position to position. Now, when it comes to your arm positions, something that we spoke about in the posture comes into play. And that is really establishing a good, solid connection between your arm and your upper back. They're not disconnected. The arm, they should look pretty in ballet, of course, don't get me wrong, but the arm is not just a decorative thing. When you're gonna build up your ballet technique, you will eventually understand that the arms in their specific positions are actually there to help you maintain a certain position with your legs and with your posture. So they're all working together as one. If you find that good solid connection with your upper back, the same feeling that I said, pushing your shoulder down and then trying to keep that same feeling while you're in your ballet positions with the arms, that is really going to help you later on. So that's another thing that you can do. And now I want to emphasize one thing. Building a proper technique in regards to your legs and your feet is going to take a really, really long time. Building beautiful upper body can take significantly less time. If you have beautiful upper body and head movements, then sometimes people are not even going to pay that much attention necessarily to your legs, which may need years and years of training, but they're going to be mesmerized by your beautiful upper body movements. So really train that port de bras, which means arm movements. Again, mirror, video, look at other people doing it, try to replicate those moments, and people won't look at your legs that much because they'll be just like, wow, look at her beautiful upper body. Okay, let's say you've been really good, you've established all of those things, your posture, your turnout, your feet positions, your arm positions. What do I do now? Now is the time to look a little bit into ballet vocabulary, because maybe you already know, maybe you don't, it's in French. Again, before you even step into a ballet class or you try to do a ballet class from a video that you found online, you need to know at least the basic terminology of the exercises that you're about to do. Otherwise, super big confusion. If you just look up basic ballet terminology, and again, I'd recommend you to do that through a video, so you're actually gonna see what this movement looks like instead of just reading the definition, which is okay, but the visual is always better. So try to find a video and then try to learn the names slowly, and try to also not just learn the name, but they're probably going to tell you the translation of that name from French into English, and it's going to make way more sense to you. So once you've done all of that, you can actually move on to the proper ballet exercises. Now, I would very highly recommend that you start doing those basic exercises with 2 hands on the bar or on whatever support system it is that you're using. Because obviously, if you're holding on with 2 hands, then you have more stability. And you can initially just really focus on the legs. Because if you would turn and you would start doing things with just 1 hand, the other arm is not just chilling on the side. No, it needs to be moving. It needs to be doing port de bras, which means arm movements. And that obviously makes everything way trickier because the focus is not just on your legs anymore, but it's also on your arm. So start with the legs. You're gonna do the basic movements. Now I'm gonna give you some names. Maybe you don't know those yet, but hopefully soon you will. Your pliés, your tendus, and your jetés. Sometimes they're called dégagés. You need to master those 3 before moving on to anything else, because you're going to see when you move on that everything else that you do kind of moves through in a little bit of a different way, but through those 3 movements. They are the foundation to absolutely everything in ballet. So it's super, super important that you nail those before you move on. And trust me, when you've moved on and you're doing new stuff, you're gonna have that light bulb moment and you're gonna be like, ah, that's what she told me in that YouTube video, that the plié or the tendu is the foundation for everything. You're gonna realize that at one point. So solidify those 3 movements with 2 hands on your support system. Then you're going to do the rest of the basic bar exercises, which you will find online, and you're going to do all of them until the end of the bar with 2 hands. Once you've built up the strength, you feel quite confident, you know what you're doing, then you take it next step further and you're going to turn. You're going to have 1 hand on the bar and you're going to be using your other arm at the same time for those arm positions and transitions which you learned before you even got to the ballet class, yeah? Because like I told you, putting the legs and the arms together is quite tricky. So you need to nail the legs first and then put them together. Next step, if you're feeling quite confident doing all the exercises with the 1 hand on the bar, then slowly, very slowly and very carefully, you're gonna, big step, move away from the bar and come to what we call the center practice, the center work, which means there's not going to be a support system at all. It's just going to be your legs and your arms, and you're not holding on to anything. It makes it even more trickier, however, because obviously you don't have the stability from a bar, number 1, so you have to be strong and you have to be already somewhat confident before you do that. And second of all, we're not just gonna have 1 arm moving, but we're gonna have 2 arms moving at the same time. So it's a level up, it's tricky. So really, really do make sure that you practice for quite a while and you solidify that 2-arm bar work, the 1-arm bar work before you think about coming to the center. And then very, very slowly, would you eventually, if your ankles and feet and calves are strong enough, are gonna start thinking about things such as very small jumps and just learning the principles of jumping. Jumping is one of the hardest things that we do in ballet, like for women specifically, jumping and point work. For men, like turns and jumping. That is the last step. Now, here's a question that gets asked a lot. Can I do ballet from home? Of course you can. We all did during COVID times. It is not necessary for you to start in a ballet studio. I'm not gonna lie to you, I think eventually it's way more fun if you're in a proper studio, you have the proper mirrors, the proper floor, the proper bars, maybe you have other people there, so you have this like community vibe as well. That's all fantastic. But actually, if anything, I think that starting from scratch, 0 knowledge about ballet, is better if you do it at home. Because you need that, like we've already said, you need that really slow beginning. Maybe you need to watch a video like over and over again for you to understand. And I think it's, you know, it's better and more stress-free if you're at home. You can take all the time in the world, and then once you know everything that we've discussed in this video, then you can slowly move yourself into a group environment. But if you're at home, then all you really need is a little bit of space so that you're not hitting your pets or your children or your walls when you're moving or lifting your legs. A chair, like we said, kitchen counter, that's it. That's all you really need. You don't need anything else. So it's absolutely doable from home. Most common mistakes to avoid. Number 1, as we've already established in this video, skipping the basics. Quick example, if you skip the basics and you come to the center and you try to do a pirouette, unless you're a prodigy, which is possible, that pirouette, however, is probably not going to work. It's not going to work and you're gonna feel frustrated, you're gonna feel annoyed, you're maybe gonna feel like you're not good. So you need those basics before you get into any of the other stuff. Because I don't want you to feel frustrated. I want you to see actual, gradual, but good and solid progress, which is going to make you excited for the rest of your ballet journey. Mistake number 2, forcing your turnout. This is also something that I already said before. Forget about everything that you see on social media. Like I told you, those people have trained for years and years and years. You need to work within the range of your natural turnout. Because if you don't, you're gonna start rolling on your foot, and if you roll on your foot, everything else, again, like a domino effect in your body, is going to go out of alignment. And in ballet, alignment is everything. Mistake number 3, comparing yourself excessively to other people. Everybody, first of all, has different natural capabilities. Some people are naturally more flexible than others. Some people have a higher arch on their foot than others. And I don't want you to fall into the trap of, oh, but mine is never gonna look like that, look at hers. Yeah, it's a trap that is very difficult to get out of. So focus solely on your own journey. You can try and constructively learn from other people, but don't excessively compare yourself to them. And the last mistake is neglecting your strengthening and flexibility work. So those 2 things are very important when it comes to ballet. And again, common misconception, it's not just flexibility. You need the strength to be able to support your flexibility. So do try to do strength training on top of your ballet training so that you are going to work your core, your back, your glutes, your inner thighs, your calves, your feet, everything that needs to come together and support you when you do your ballet class. And then when you're warm, after a class or after a little strengthening workout, then you're going to work on your flexibility. But strength and flexibility come hand in hand. Do not neglect the strengthening work and just stretch. It's not going to work out well. You absolutely need to do both at the same time. So, to wrap it up, ballet rewards patience. Give yourself the time to slowly but surely grow into the dancer that you want to be. And whether you start your journey at home, in your living room or in your kitchen or in a ballet studio, I want you to remember that every single dancer started with pliés, with tendus, exactly the same way that you are about to start right now. I also want to tell you guys that I actually created something that may be perfect for you, my Ultimate Beginner's Ballet course. And I created this because when I started teaching, somehow, it wasn't intentional, but I ended up teaching a lot of beginners. And I realized that it would be super helpful if I put together a very thorough course which would teach somebody like you all the basics that they need to know. So if you want to start ballet and you want to have all the information in one place, then check out my Ultimate Beginner's Ballet course. I'm going to leave the link in the description box below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, again, share with a friend, and thank you all for watching and see you again very soon.